So how do you make team comps in Unicorn Overlord? So let's figure this out. So what do you do first of all? So what is a team comp? So a team comp is a group of dudes in a squad, otherwise known as a unit. And the unit is essentially your vehicle for killing the enemies. So what do you want to do? What should each unit be capable of? What are the unit types? And so on. I think there's really one unit type in this game, and that is a good unit. I think there are good units and bad units. If a unit is good, it kills almost everything, and basically nothing can mess with it, and it typically just dominates. And it can support other allies, but generally, you have a few things. All right, so the first thing you need is damage. Every single unit, no matter what, needs some damage carry. So damage carry is a unit that deals a lot of damage and that typically has column attacks, row attacks, or attacks that hit every single enemy on the board. So let's go over a few different types of damage carries. I'm not going to go over all of them. This is just for an example. All right, let's go over, let's grab a board nuke. Let's throw Unifi in there because everyone loves Unifi. Okay, so Elaine. So early Elaine is not a damage carry, but promoted Elaine is a Beyblade that spins to win, and he has huge damage. Attack a row of enemies, ignores 50% of target's defense, grants user +1 passive point if target is defeated. So it's a row attack that has 120 potency that hits twice. So it's 60 potency, it hits twice, it's 120 potency. And with a build like Sniper Amber Lens, he gives himself True Strike, so it doesn't matter if they evade or not, or have the evade mechanic, and it's also a guaranteed crit. So in this case, Elaine would be a damage carry for this squad that we're building here. In the case of Clive, he is on Silver Trident Plus, which has Lightning Shaker, which is a 200 potency row attack that also stuns. He also can Wild Rush a column, so he has column and row stun, column and row multi-hits, and then he also has Assaulting Lance, which allows him to clean up kills if the enemy defensive units are dead, and he just has to pick something off. So if everyone else on your team is out of resources, just between Lightning, Shaker, and Assaulting Lance, he can typically kill an entire squad. So when you're building teams, you want to be thinking about who is your damage carry. This is the most fundamental thing for every single team in PvE. And then of course for Unifi, she actually has a built-in damage carry ability, Glacial Rain. Attack all enemies, inflicts freeze. Now it is a charge attack, and you might notice that she has 80 hit rate on this, and it's 60 potency times 3, so it's 180 potency. Now this you want to use impetus on, so that when she goes to charge, she gets hit with impetus from the cat ear hoods, and then she instantly does her board nuke. And then you also want to give her True Strike, typically through a Sniper Lens, or you can have someone hand her True Strike like a Witch. Witches can give other units True Strike before they attack. So for example, if we wanted to make it so that she always hits her board nuke, we could run either Amber Sniper Lens for True Strike plus crit, or just normal Sniper Lens. I think I might have passed it. There's a ton of items in this game. There's like a lot. An unreasonable amount. I mean, it's reasonable. Alright, so we only have these. There's actually a lot of Sniper Lenses and Angel Lands, and I think there's like 3 to 4 total. But you get Eagle Eye, make your next attack True Strike. Oh, and actually, hold on, she has built-in True Strike. Never mind. You crit booster. That's right. She has built-in True Strike. That's why she doesn't have it. I was like, oh, I made a mistake here, but no, actually it was fine. She has built-in True Strike. I don't run her that much because I prefer the Alto Linda, Rosa Linda board nukes. Then we have things like the Lindas. Let's grab the other Linda too. Oh, she died. I think I had to kill her because she's mind controlled. But the Lindas have this board nuke. Elemental Roar. Attack all enemies. 70 potency, so 140 base potency. It's a hybrid attack, and then potency increases with fairy counts, plus 30 for fairy. I'm fairly certain that this also scales both, because it tends to hit really hard, and if you throw Amber Lens on this unit, and Gambler Coin, this board nuke, hold on, let me add it, it tends to just completely kill everything. This is like the best damage carry in the game right now, with a build like this. Now, you don't have to marry her. You can throw a crown on her. You can either put a ring on it or a crown for the damage scaling. But because it's a hybrid attack, all stats and hybrid weapons are fantastic for a board nuke like this. Sniper Amber Lens, hit fixes, but it also gives you True Strike when you pop it, and then guaranteed crits. She also has Rage of the Fairies, which is a row stun at the start of battle. So like this is like the best damage carry in the game, I think, right now. It doesn't need impetus, it needs very few resources, and it typically, when it uses Amber Lens, will just completely wipe the enemy board. And maybe an enemy blocks or covers for another enemy, and then there's one survivor. And she also has enough to last hit with Primus Edge and just keep destroying enemies. And then also you get this, activates after. So if you have enough passive points after you use all of your abilities, you can get more action points and more fairies and then poke things out. And then we have other things, so like Hilda. So you would do something like this. Dragoon's War Spear, Dragoon Dive, you get good stats, and you also get a board nuke, plus 50 potency versus ground, and then of course True Strike, plus 20% attack, and whatever else you want to run on this. This is a more simplistic board nuke, but these are like damage carries, right? So you typically build your team around a damage carry, and depending on the damage carry, they can actually be in different positions. So like Elaine can actually be a frontliner, which is interesting because he's a damage carry that's also tanky. Like, look at his stats right now. He's 118 health. His physical defense is very high. His magic defense is very high. He has built-in block and cover, pretty sure. Yeah, he has built-in block and cover, which is very good. And then his built-in block actually refreshes his passive points. But all right, so each team needs damage carry, and then you typically have support units. Now, you don't usually want to rely on just one damage carry, because very often, especially if it's a row attacker, it's not going to be able to kill on its own. So now we'll get into the next, like, archetype of unit, the damage boosters. So I'll put all the damage carries in the front. Hilda can kind of be a frontliner if you evasion stack her. Rosalinda can kind of frontline if she's evasion stacked. Just for the sake of this guide, I'm just going to throw them all in the front so you can see who is like a support unit in this way. Let's see, I guess technically Scarlet could if we really wanted to. Let's grab a Fencer. So the damage support units, they typically deal low to moderate damage. They're usually evasion tanks, not always, but they will generally just improve the effectiveness of a board nuke or some other unit. All right, so let's go over some of the basic ones. So we have Prince. So Gilbert is a one-off. You get one of them and that's it. He has one of the best damage boosting abilities in the game. Offensive Order grants all allies plus 20% attack. This includes physical and magical damage. So if you have hybrid attacks, I think it scales both. I haven't tested it. If you know, just drop a comment. But at the very least, it probably scales the final output. So if you deal 100 damage, you're now dealing 120 damage. And then if you crit, you would go from 100 to 150 to... Math is not my strong suit. I want to say like 175. Is that right? That's probably wrong. It's like maybe it's 170 something, but it's like plus something. Let's bust out the calculator. This is why we have calculators. I can code, but I can't do math well because it's all just logic. All right, so just be times 1.2. 180. I was close. All right, so 180. So crit. So offensive order on a crit, like 100 that crits, goes from 150 to 180 damage. So it starts adding up quickly. If you multi-hit, it's huge. He also has other things that are nice. He can remove buffs from enemies. Typically, you just have him offensive order once unless it gets stripped. He can also defensive order, which is not really that useful, honestly, because if you kill all the enemies, you don't need to tank damage. He can also guard order, which is very good. Grants a row of allies 100% guard rate. So he allows your team to be more durable and more damaging. And he also can just slap a gambler's coin on him so that when you have an Amber Lens unit, you can boost that even further. So then when we crit, we get plus 30% more attacks. Now we're plus 50% attack and plus 50% crit damage. And between those two combos, Elaine will typically just immediately kill the row he attacks. There's very few things that will survive this combo. And then the rest of your team can just be like supportive units that heal and make the team more tanky. And then for Clive, we have an Elven Fencer. So Fencers, they have Tome Conferral access. They have Mirage Stab. They have Column Attack that's decent, but Mirage Stab and Lightning Blade are really good. They also can cleanse, remove weakness, remove the user's Debuff allows them to evade an attack. They have high base evasion, and they have the evade mechanic. So against non-true strike enemies, they tend to be very slippery. They have above average durability, and they can contribute to damage. So they have a very meaningful row attack. 150 potency on a hybrid attack is quite strong. You can throw whatever coin or whatever on them. Like Gambler's Coin. In this case, I have a Lucky Coin for evasion and some crit. Mostly for the evasion, but they can use any tome conferral. So for your board and your board nukes and row attacks, they can give them plus 50 potency. They can give freeze, stun, lifesteal, and what's the other one? Fire. So they can give all those different effects through the tomes. Very few classes can use the tome conferral, and this is one of the classes that can do that. And there's quite a lot of tomes. So it's just a huge damage increase to row attacks, board nukes, and so on. And they also have other things. They can remove weakness. I'm sorry, Sylphic Barrier. They also have this. After evading attack, grants user plus 1 AP. They can convert active points or passive points into active points. They can Sylphic Barrier to reduce enemy ranged attacks, like mitigate enemy range attacks. They can remove weakness from themselves, which also allows them to dodge, so they can actually be frontliners situationally. But pretty good class. And then of course we have Elven Archer. We have Mystic Conferral. So this is an active ability. Typically what I do with these, you can kind of see the build. This is actually the perfect combo piece for Unifi. She gives Unifi plus 50 potency on her board nuke, which is a huge damage increase, as her active ability instead of a passive, because you cannot stack several passives. So she gets plus 50 potency, and then she quick impetuses. And then also, after she does this as her first action, she can Icicle Arrow. So she has a multi-hit, hits 2 things, that freezes. And you can have it like prioritize whatever you want in this case. But it's pretty solid units. I like these. I think they're one of the best things in the game. They also have kind of like average bulk for tanking if they get hit. And they also have higher evasion, similar to the Fencers. And then we have the Witch. Alright, so the Witch has Magic Conferral. This is a weird build. Ignore this. This is like some weird build I was running. Let's grab... Typically they run something that gives passive or active points. I could do Icefall Staff for now. Alright, so typically... I don't need the Hasten Charge either. Alright, so let's say... This is an underleveled Witch. They usually have Ice Coffin, which is a row freeze. They do this as like a last resort. They usually want to be like a combo piece. So they have 2 buffs that are really useful. They can give things True Strike, so they can give your row attacks and board attacks True Strike. And they also have Magic Conferral, which is different from Mystic Conferral. They're slightly different names. It's the same thing, except it's limited. So if you want a Gambler's Coin and Mystic Conferral a board nuke, you can't. So you can just use this. So for example, if she goes and does her Dragoon Dive and gets Impetus, you would want an Impetus unit on this Dragoon Dive. You could also Conferral the Impetus. Like, the Impetus doesn't cost a limited slot, so like when something's limited, activates for ally physical attack. If there are other activates for ally physical attacks competing with this, the highest initiative goes, and all the limiteds, only one of them, the highest initiative unit's limited goes, and then everyone else is just doesn't work. So if I were to have another unit try to Gambler's Coin and she has the higher initiative of those 2 units, it would get conferred and Gambler's Coin would not go through. But they have these 2. They also have Freeze. Magic Missile can be decent for last hitting things, for cleaning up. They also have Teleports, which helps for moving your units around. But that's some decent support. The only problem with Witch, though, is that it dies easily. This is a under-leveled unit. They typically have like 50 to 60 health at like level 40. So they tend to die to Archer Assist easily. If there's like 2 or 3 Archer Assists, that tends to kill Witches. I kind of prefer like the Prince and the Elves because they have better bulk and base evasion. And also Druid has a similar situation. Okay, so Druid, its stats don't matter at all, and it has arguably one of the better support abilities. So typically the front row has enemies that block, right? And if it doesn't, if it's in the back row, you can also change this to be the back row. But Defensive Curse, it actually reduces defense, physical defense, and magical defense by 50%, and it applies Guard Seal, so things cannot guard. I think they can still cover, though. I could be wrong about that. I'm pretty sure They can. I feel like I've seen it. Maybe they got cleansed. It can get cleansed, but if it doesn't get cleansed, it makes the front row of enemies who are usually higher HP, higher defense, because typically the enemy teams are arranged with the highest durability in the front. This is usually enough to allow a board nuke to kill, so this combo is actually totally fine. Even without the druid, she would probably kill most things, but with the druid, it's almost like guaranteed she'll wipe the entire enemy team unless they have some ability that allows them to survive, which is infrequent. Because I also open with a row stun that I can change who I'm stunning. So at the start of battle, I just stun whatever row has utility and debuffs and things, like things that prevent me from killing. And then you board nuke, and she would actually go before her. So it would be row stun, row debuff, which also scales damage, and then board nuke. But these are good because they have good bulk, good base evasion. They're kind of weird though, like after they defensive curse, they don't really have anything to do. Cause the enemy team is dead and they just kind of sit there. So I do feel like there's better options, but they're survivable and they're definitely like in the meta game, I would say. Early game, I don't really think Shaman's that good, but late game Druid can be valuable in a team. All right, so there's your damaged carries and your assists. Now let's talk about supportive units. Now that we have our offense. So you usually want other things in your team. You don't want just one damage carry. You could have two. So for example, if we want to have like a secondary thing, we could have like an Amalia added, and then this Amalia is on Hunter's Claymore, and she's on Outlaw Bracelet, which gives her wide pursuit. So she gets plus 20 attack, plus 20 damage on follow-up skills. It's actually plus 20%. So it gives her 95 potency, and look at her physical attack of 91. So if a lane doesn't kill with his row attack, she will wide pursuit up to 2 times, and she also can use 2 heavy slashes, a single Omega Shatter, or a single Penetrate. Penetrate's a calm attack that reduces, it's unguardable and reduces enemy defense. Omega is just a double hits that's unguardable, and then Heavy Slash is just a big whack for huge damage, typically to smack an enemy, like if there's a survivor. So just between these two and the damage boost from Gilbert's, this is enough to kill most enemies. So let's just put her in the front next to him. Let's go over some others. For Cav teams, you can't go wrong running multiple Cavs, typically. So if you just want to run like double horses, this can be decent. You do have to be mindful of Wyverns. So like if you were running a team like this, I'd want to have an archer to like freeze the Wyverns. You could even do something like this, like Icicle Arrow the Wyverns, which is very valuable. They have bad evasion versus range attacks. They have double evasion versus grounded melee. So this could kind of hard counter Wyverns to prevent them from dodging these dudes. Also, I don't think you can dodge. You cannot dodge when you're stunned, and I'm pretty sure you can't dodge when you're frozen either. So it sets these up. You don't need the impetus here though, but you could just do double horses. For you Nefi squad, you can really run whoever you want. If you want to run like a Viking or something, I kind of don't really like Viking. It's not a bad class, but you could run whatever other damage units. Let's say we have a Viking in this squad for like a damage assist. Of course, Berengaria. I think she's dead right now. Yeah, the Berengaria team died. So let's say this is Berengaria. Berengaria is really good because she row stuns. On this team, I would actually move her there, like over to here if this was Berengaria. This unit is so good, she typically doesn't need other damage units on the team, and you can kind of get away with running almost nothing or anyone. So let's just give her... Just run whoever, it kind of doesn't even matter. Let's give her another Elven Fencer. You can run Elven Fencers as damage too. They have Mirage Stab. You can set them up so they deal a lot of damage with Mirage Stab. I actually made a team comp where they kill, so... And they act as like support and utility and stuff too. So like here's an example of we have our, so the damage is sets for everyone, they have support. All right, now we need to talk about surviving and healing. So every team wants this: damage carry, utility damage supports, cleanses, mitigation, so on, and then like healing. Well, let's move mitigation to this category, mitigation, healing. All right, so keeping the team alive. So you kill the enemies, you support the things that kill, now you have to keep the team alive. So the units that tend to be best at this, the absolute best unit in the game for this, I think is Saint and Knight. It's not even close. It's also one of the best party leaders. So let's like grab a few. Oh, I only have 2. I think I had 2 super squads in this. We'll run other things. You can run like cleric if you want. We'll throw a few different ones in. Throw in Prim. Who else? You want like hard supports. You don't want... You could probably get away with Feather Staff. I don't like them because they die to range spam easily because of their flying weakness. But you could run these, for example. I think Sainted Knight is absolutely the best support class in the game. I'll go over it too. You could have like a Paladin, I guess. Joseph is definitely not the best support either. he's like slightly serviceable. He's like an off support. He needs like someone else to help him support. Let's just do bishops for now, I guess. Really, you just want Sainted Knights. Sainted Knights, look at the party leader effect, take less damage from magic assists. Look at the movement. 5 stamina, more than serviceable. Really high movement, take less damage from magic assists, so like half of the assists the enemies throw at you are just bad. This is like, it does so much. And then also, if the enemies have magic, you have row barrier. So like, for example, one of the big problems in endgame are the quick cast witches. So the witch has an ability, the sorceress rather, activates at the start of battle, grants the user max initiative. So the witch will pop this, and then it will ice coffin a row of your units. Now, the Sainted Knight hard counters that directly with row barrier. If a row is attacked, activates before ally is hit by magic attack, negate the next magic damage, and negate the afflictions. So it hard counters that specific thing, as well as soft countering magic in general through magic barrier. And you can have it run whatever utility you want. And typically I run these on Zenoiran Knight Swords, so they're tankier. They get more HP, more physical and magical defense. And then for the shield, it can be whatever you want it to be. Doesn't really matter. You can throw them on a shield that heals them when they use active abilities. But typically they're going to be row healing anyways. So what will happen is as you kill, let's say take assist damage from range assists or enemies' valor skills, you just spam row heal, and you can always get more row heal by getting action points through your shield, through your sword. There's a few swords that give active points. They're kind of like contested, so like this, you could run this on it. Typically you could just switch this, a pendant, to like a carnelian or to a ruby, whatever you really want to do. But 1 to 2, maybe 3 row heals is more than enough. And they can Sainted Blade. For example, you can set the condition so that they only Sainted Blade if there's like, I don't know, some enemy you need the last hit. And the nice thing about these is after all the enemies are dead, if they have like 3 active points, they can just row heal 3 times in a row. And it's completely insane. Look at the heal, look at the potency on this. 100 magic potency, restore HP to a row of allies. It's super broken. They hard counter magic, they get you mobility, they get you everything. Pretty much this team is fine. This team would stomp. And then you can just add whoever you feel like for your 5th unit. Whatever you feel like is missing. Maybe you want cleanse, maybe you want some utility, literally whatever you want. Doesn't matter. You can add it. So that's pretty much how I come up with team comps. You think about damage carries, you optimize for those damage carries with the support units, and then you have tanky units or mitigation healing units and so on. There's also other things to consider, like blocking, covering. So for example, if you have evasion frontliners and you run into an enemy swordmaster, they might smack out your frontliner if they're not tanky enough with their start of battle effect. You have to watch out for things like that occasionally. In this case of the Unifi team, I would not have her on the front. This guy on the front, you would want a frontliner, maybe Virginia. So like you can have other units, you can have like tanky units. Right now my Virginia's dead. Let's res her if I can. Res some of these carries. One of my super squad, I had to kill them to beat the boss. Alright, so let's go over tanks now. I know what you're saying, where are the tanks? Tanks are almost not needed because if you're aggressive enough, you stun and you kill fast enough, you don't have to tank damage. So things like Hoplites, Legionnaire, they just don't matter at all. You just kill, like, you kill before they can do anything. All right, so let's say we make a team. Oops. We'll make a Monica team. Alright, so we can have a frontliner. Berengaria in the back. We have Virginia in the front. So in this team, we almost have enough damage. We could have Elto Lind, and now we have enough damage. So we have the Sainted Knight, party leader for the movement. Take less damage from magic assist. We also have Virginia, who can pop her ability for 1 Valor to give all units immunity to range and magic assists and first strike for 1 combat, which is huge. And she can also use that on herself, like her own unit. We have Elto Lind for spot curing. The nice thing about the Elven Sisters is that they can spot cure with Curing Heal. It's both quick heal and cleanse. Removes all debuffs, and it removes debuffs that were on the units before the hit too. So if you have like 3 debuffs on you, like let's say you're burning, frozen, and poisoned, and then you get hit and you survive because you can't cure someone who's dead, she would then heal and remove all of those. So this is just like a huge value ability. It also can be used on themselves. Oh yeah, and then she also has Boon of the Fairies. Activates at the start of battle. Restore moderate HP to row of allies. The reason why this is good is because this can actually it can heal away damage from assists. And it also grants a buff that negates a single debuff and gives her a fairy, which allows her to do a bigger elemental roar. And then Berengaria can stun with her best move. And then of course she can do this. You have to be mindful of your start of battle effects. Some are better than others. Boon of Fairies and Eye of the Warrior Princess, you could switch those. So if you want to debuff the enemies, if they're high initiative, this can kill their initiative a bit so that your team's a little bit faster. Or if you want the heal for the cleanse or the heal from Boon of the Fairies, you can set that. But typically you want, I would say every team wants a Sainted Knight. I think it's just the best healing class in the game. Also, if you want to, you can make an attack. If you want to. It shouldn't be, but it can attack. You can throw a Runic Blade on it. Where's a Runic Blade? Here we go. You can throw a Runic Sword on it, and you can have it magic attack. It's 150 potency. This thing has 57 magic attack. It'll probably kill an armor, but really you shouldn't be relying on these to attack. So you should throw like Zenoiran Night Sword on them, or something like this, so that they can become tanky enough, and they can actually kind of frontline. So like, let's say she gets killed because she's an armor. Oh no, she's not an armor, never mind. That's right, she's not an armor. That's so good, that's so overpowered. All right, let's say that you're an armor and you're using an armor or whatever. Let's say the frontliner's dying for whatever reason. Very often you can switch the Sainted Knight if it's on tank gear to the front and it can survive. It's really stupid. It doubles as a healer, a tank, and a damage support. And also look at what its abilities do. Hatch, attack a single enemy. Grants 1 passive point. Saint's Blade, plus 25 potency at max HP, so it's 150 total potency at max HP, and it hits twice, so it has 2 chances to roll for crit, whereas a single attack has 1. The damage, it basically is just this attack, but better, and I usually set it to only use at max HP, and then basically just row heal otherwise. So the idea is, if it's taking damage, it won't use Saint's Blade, and then it will heal itself. And then if it has something to attack, and it's at full HP, it'll then attack. So it's like a cleanup thing. These things are insane as hell. They're like the best support unit in the game right now, objectively. Like, they do everything, and also they have shields, and you can get whatever shield effect you want. You can get hasten cover, you can get Royal Guard, which allows them to heal when they get hit. You can even do parry shield, negate melee damage for a single hit, grant the user an active point. They have so much nonsense. Like, even just throwing parry shield on them on the front and just having them parry allows them to spam row heal more and just makes them really tanky. And of course they have row barrier, they have Holy Guard, block an enemy attack, prevents debuffs. They have like everything. So this is typically how I structure teams. Now, what about flyers? So for flyers, if you want to beat certain maps quick and you have a flying unit in your team, especially like a Wyvern or something, or an Angel, you can just make it the party leader and then pop like an item. You can either do the Griffin Valor skill or just pop the potion or whatever, this thing. Where is it? It's this thing, the Tail Feather, the Light Feather, and then Light Tail Feather for AoE. There's enough of these where you can use a lot of these. You can just pop this and dive bosses if you really want to. But that's pretty much it for the team comp guide. First, all right, so let's finish some of these really quick. So like, what would we add here? You can add literally whatever you want. You could add more damage. You could add in heavy cover. You could add in, I wouldn't add in a rogue. You can add in like a shield shooter, so you have like an archer if you really want one. You can't go wrong adding generic classes like shield shooter or elven archer. Both of them are really good for just dealing with flyers if that's an issue for certain team comps. Now, with the Beyblade attack, with Amber Lens, I haven't found Wyverns to be a problem. I typically kill them because she wide pursuits immediately after he Beyblades. So as we spin to win, she just smacks for huge damage. And one thing you can do that's cool with these is they can also wide pursuit. And there's 3 wide pursuit rings in the game, by the way. I have 2 of them right now in this playthrough. But she can wide pursuit. And note that wide pursuit is not limited. So you can just have wide pursuit bots on your team. Oh yeah, then look at her evasion. This is kind of overkill. I would rather have her on probably bone, I guess. Yeah, because her initiative's already kind of bad. So it doesn't matter what her initiative. It doesn't matter what her initiative is if she's wide pursuiting, because the whole point of a build like this is to wide pursuit. And then of course, if we want to boost the damage even further, if I have it on the save file, I think I do. I know, it's the pursuit earrings. You get the pursuit earrings from saving the archer in Oaklease map, by the way. You only get them from that. So if you kill him, you never get the pursuit plus 40% damage earrings, which are hugely good. Hugely good. That's the way we'll describe that. What else do we got? I think I'm missing a +1 PP bow. Yeah, I am on this playthrough. But that's pretty much it for this one. I hope this helps people who are new to the game. And yeah, definitely like and subscribe if you enjoyed this or found this useful, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.